Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel with myself, Isabella. We're going to be talking about the things that beginners absolutely have to do in their ballet journey, especially at the start. They are so important. These things ultimately build your foundations and help you improve at a faster rate. I think as beginners, and let's focus on the adult beginners, we go to the ballet class and we think that just the ballet class itself is going to serve us and help us improve. But I really remind you guys that let's think back to ballet schools. At ballet school, before we even go into the first year, we have a whole year where we just do conditioning on the floor. And even if some schools don't necessarily do that, we pay huge attention to the floor exercises before we actually stand up. Things like maintaining our turnout, finding the muscles, because ultimately ballets are really difficult, and in the first instance, it's not exactly natural and it doesn't feel natural. It does eventually feel really good, but it takes the many years to find that nice connection with your body. And so we have to do these exercises on the floor so that when we stand up to do our foundations, it's instantly easier. You can feel your turnout a lot better, your core is engaged for better balance, you've been doing your feet exercises for the alignment of your foot, the articulation of your foot, and it's going to be so much easier for you. So let's talk through the key things that you need to be doing outside of the studio so that when you go to class, it's going to be a lot better. Number one, mobility. Mobility and flexibility. Mobility in ballet, as we know, is so essential. And I think if we are adults, but even just young students, we're not all born with a load of flexibility. And especially when we are adults, we are literally in our adult body. And if we haven't developed any flexibility when we were younger, we're definitely going to feel a little bit stiff once we get to the ballet studio. So it's something that we need to work on outside, not just for the benefit of our ballet, but also for injury prevention. The key areas I would focus on are hamstrings, so the backs of your legs. This area really helps you have less effort when we lift the legs high, be it in a développé or grand battement, so ease of lifting the legs, as well as when we get to jumps and more advanced jumps, ease of throwing the leg in jumps. As well as when we get to jumps, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get the height, because ultimately, not necessarily for beginners, but when we do grand allegro, if we throw the leg quite low, we're only going to jump as high as our leg. So we need to get that sense of lifting the leg nice and high. So hamstrings is really important. It's really key to loosen up in the calves and make sure your calves are loose. Everywhere I'm saying to stretch, it's not a case of you need to be so loose that you have no strength. Ballet is hard as well because there needs to be this fine line between being loose enough so you're kind of like an elastic and very free in the legs, but you also need to be super strong, not just for powerful things, but also to support your joints whilst they are very mobile. So why I like the calves to be nice and loose is it also helps you get the feet more mobile and strong. So if you're struggling to really point the foot, often we can have a very flat foot. Check in with what the calves are doing. Because if you've got super tight calves, you'll notice they'll be cramping every time you tendu. You won't be able to point the foot to your maximum, and you'll find all the strain's going to go into the calf. So that is something that we do in the Amazing Feet course. We start with massaging the lower leg and the calves so that then we get much more mobile in the feet. Along with this, we want the hip flexors to be really long as well. When you throw the leg or when we do a développé, it's not just about the working leg. When we lift that leg, we need to have nice long length in the supporting side so that it's not pulling when we lift the opposite leg. Hip flexors need to be super long so we can get this nice range in the split, basically. Having long hip flexors also helps us eventually achieve our split. We also have a splits plan which can help with this. But that's a combination of stretching the hip flexors and hamstrings, which are the two sides of the leg, as you can see. And once you get those two areas, then we're going to get the front leg nice and long and the back leg sliding back as well. And then once we have our split, things will be also a lot easier. Then let's look at the hips. We've always got to stretch the glutes. These kinds of stretches are really easy to add into your routine. So often we just sit around and we're doing something, maybe watching television or on our laptop working. You can add this to your routine quite easily. Be it, yes, maybe we'll sit on the floor instead for a little while, but then we're stretching the glutes, we're stretching the turnout muscles, and we're going to get more range in the hip. This is going to help you when you stand up in class and do your plie, your grand plie in second, which I know can be very difficult for beginners to get this nice openness in the legs. This is going to really help you unlock that and open up the hips a little bit wider. Then let's move on to the spine. Now we need nice range in the upper back. And whilst we do need range in the lower back, we want to be careful that we're still supported in the core, but we'll get to that later. With the upper back, you can do this nice and simply on a foam roller, lying backwards, allowing your arms to open and just relaxing whilst keeping the ribs nice and drawn down. Adding the foam roller to your routine will also keep you mobile and give this sense of relaxation and massage to the body as well, which also helps you in general feel good in your mood and keep mobile in the body with little effort really. It's also just really nice to do. But you'll find when you have more length in the hip flexors, you'll be able to utilize your back a little bit more. So they always tie together. They're all very connected. When my hip flexors are long, I can arch up more because nothing is constricting me in the front. A nice supple back is going to help you get your leg higher in the arabesque, as well as keep your shoulders very open in class, and we won't be enclosed like this all the time. So mobility is really key. Now you're probably thinking, that's a lot I've just said, and you don't have time to do any of that. It's actually quite easy to add all this into your routine. If you need specific guidance and a plan with your mobility side of things, everything I mentioned today, we have plans for on the BWI platform. So you don't have to think, you can just do 20 minutes a day, and that's definitely going to help. But if you're struggling in general, think about, okay, how can I make this manageable for myself? You don't need to compare it to anyone else's routine. We can do 10 minutes each day, whether it's just sitting like this whilst you're doing something else, whether it's trying to sit in a little box split whilst you do something else. There's ways of multitasking and adding things to your routine without much effort at all. So then you feel like, okay, it's not my ideal routine at the moment, but I'm still working towards my goal. As I've said before, I'm really lucky I have some amazing friends who are very successful in other areas and who have achieved a lot in many things, such as I know an amazing person, Merritt Moore, who is a quantum physicist, and she did physics at Harvard and Oxford as well. I'm sorry if I'm not saying it completely correctly, Merritt, but she did loads at Harvard and Oxford, as well as trained as a ballerina in her spare time. And one thing she mentioned to me was she used her tiny habits a lot. So that was literally what I'm saying. As she was studying, she was sitting in a stretch. As she was reading something, she was doing her feet exercises. So always remember, your routine doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to find ways to get it into your routine in the first place. All right, now let's move on to posture and alignment. So depending on what classes you're doing in your drop-in classes, which, let's face it, most of the time with adults, they're very rushed and you're not getting a lot of attention. Maybe there's a lot of people in the room. Maybe the teacher is not super detailed and just wants to get through everything. Needless to say, it's very easy to pick up bad habits, both in your posture and your alignment. If you take anything from this video, you need to understand that alignment is one of the most important things. If your alignment already builds up in bad ways and you get bad habits with your alignment, it's going to be so difficult. Number one, to improve and get past a certain level, you will definitely plateau. And number two, really get the most out of each movement. You'll feel blocked. You'll feel like, why isn't this working? Usually it's down to the alignment and you haven't connected to the right muscles. They go together. When you're aligned, you feel the correct muscles, therefore you improve. So with alignment, there are ways to train this outside of the studio. Number one, floor bar. Floor bar is amazing for getting rid of any bad habits you may have standing up and identifying it on the floor. So that means things like doing simple tendus on your back, tendus on your side. And I love doing stuff on my side because you can really feel the supporting leg rotation and really feel the sense of the standing leg and the role it plays. As beginners, we tend to completely neglect the standing leg and it stands very turned in, and we focus so much on this one that we end up completely twisting away from the bar. So the floor bar really identifies that and trains that bad habit. What you'll do with that is you'll understand how to work two legs at once. Often when we're standing at the bar, we focus so much on the leg that is moving literally and working that we completely neglect the one we're standing on. But you really need to understand that the one you are standing on is essentially the working leg. That is the thing that's stabilizing you. That is the thing that's holding you up. The more stable and worked that is, the freer the other one will be. So it's super essential to train that on the floor. You'll see videos on Instagram as well as all my classes on the platform where you've got these young kids at like Vaganova especially, and definitely other places like Paris Opera, where you see the children doing these floor bar exercises when they're like 9, 10, 11 years old, doing these développés on the floor to perfection and training that to as high a level as they possibly can on the floor before they then stand up. And obviously in modern day drop-in classes for adults, that's obviously not mentioned and not taken super seriously. We definitely do floor bar our intensives, by the way, but it's something that has to be essential to your routine if you're serious about improving in your ballet. So alignment and posture can be greatly worked on the floor and really improved. If you're looking then to go slower than what's going on in the classes, check out our Absolute Beginner course, which is like 9 weeks long and just 5 minutes a day. We have the bar, and we also 8 weeks of just the bar, and then we have the center, which is again 9 weeks long. Like so much detail with the foundations. And foundations are everything. Everything I mentioned today, I will leave in the description down below so you can go and have a look should you want to add any of this to your routine. Let's move on to the core. Now, the core is your absolute powerhouse. It is where all your strength is so that you can be free in your legs, so that you can move quickly. I've spoken to some incredible ballerinas on the podcast, and recently I've spoken with an amazing dancer from Paris Opera, Inez McIntosh, who, again, the Paris Opera is so amazing at moving very quick. They play a lot of their attention to the feet and the legs moving fast. And even I identify very much, even as a Vaganova student who is obviously Russian technique, there's a lot of awareness of how important the core is so that we can do a lot of amazing things with the legs. But what was interesting about speaking with her and hearing from her own words was saying that, you know, if we're not aligned in the body, if we're not strong in the body, then how are we expected to move fast? So be really careful if you're in classes which are too fast for you. I think as adults, you're so keen to get to the next level and do the really fast pied allegro. But actually, and I've had actual beginners come up to me and say, how do I do fast pied allegro? But what you need to understand with that is fast pied allegro is something we do when we are really strong in all the foundations and we can move slow perfectly. Then we will move quicker. And I think you can't run before you can walk. If your core isn't strong, if your alignment is not good, and you're moving everything as you do jeté, and you're not doing fast jeté at the bar yet whilst keeping completely solid, then how do we expect to do battu quickly in the center? It doesn't work. When you're more aware of your core and you're starting to get more engaged, then you'll be able to move a little bit faster. But what skill we need to know is, when we're establishing our core connection on the floor, we need to be able to stand up and translate that to our ballet at the bar and our dancing in the center. So when you stand up and you're at the bar, and this is all in our foundational courses, as you move your arms and your head and you move your legs, nothing else should move. Ballet is all about isolation as well, isolation of limbs. So when you move your leg, nothing else in your body should be moving with you. When you move your arm, you shouldn't be moving everything. I think that is something that beginners currently struggle with. So core work is going to help you just be more aware of that. So we have so many exercises. And again, they don't need to be complicated. I think on social media now, there are so many complicated exercises out there, and you think you need to almost do this very intense choreographical routine of a class in order to get results. And actually you don't. You just need to do really good exercises, basic stuff, well. Things like Pilates exercises, really scooping in the core. So great at understanding what the core actually does, where it comes from, what it leads into, how your legs start in your core, and just building that awareness. And all of this is going to help you, not just literally being strong, but just being aware of your body more. And that's something that ballet dancers are so good at, and something we develop is we become so aware of everything from the tip of our head down to our little toe. We can feel everything. And so then that's when you have full control of your body. Turnout. Now you've probably been wondering when I'm going to mention that. Turnout is essential for ballet, literally when the feet do this. But one thing that beginners often misunderstand, especially when you first go to a class, and it's completely normal, when the teacher says, okay, first position, we just think about, okay, I've got to shove my feet outwards and turn out from here. But actually, turnout is a whole body sensation. And that is probably a little bit hard to grasp at the moment, and that's completely fine. It's something that which develops like over such a long period of time. There's kind of a moment when you've put in all this effort and all this work in, that you go to class and you just have this sort of moment where you're like, oh, that's what it feels like. But I didn't feel this for a very long time. I used to stand in first position, stand in fifth, and it used to feel like I was going to Everest or something, like that much effort. But what we don't want to do is feel squashed in the position, feel like we're really squeezing and tucking the pelvis under, so much so that as soon as we release, everything's going to move. It's this sense of the inner spiral and feeling the spiral of the body, the spiral of the legs, the spiral of the calves, the knees, the thighs, the abdominals, the pelvis, the shoulders. And when you stand there, you just feel this sense of rotation so that it feels natural then to then send the leg away in a tendu or to do a rond de jambe. Everything is always working in opposition. Now, there's many exercises to do for turnout, such as our Pilates clamshells, where we open out and in. And those are really good for getting the glute muscles strong, and we really need to get the surrounding glute muscles strong. However, ballet is very spiral and very three-dimensional, so it's very useful to train the turnout in this kind of 3D movement where you're utilizing the entire hip at once. And that's when, again, I go back to the floor bar. We do a lot of floor bar because it really helps you understand this sense of wrap. And then you'll realize the roll turnout plays both, yes, in the glutes and deep rotators, but also the inner thigh and feeling that wrap of the inner thigh. And that's something which is really hard to feel. Now, some people just say, okay, use the Pilates ring and squeeze the ring. And sure, you're going to feel your inner thighs, but you're not going to feel the wrap of the legs and the spiral of the legs. And that is super essential, which is why I always, no matter what, and no matter where I was in my training, I would do my Pilates exercises and my conditioning, but I would also always do something to train my spiral, which would be floor bar or gyrokinesis. Again, we have all this on the platform. It's my mission to give you the dream platform with everything. So definitely check it out. And that's going to just make ballet and make the ballet class for you make a lot more sense. And it's going to feel good. Then my final point for you guys is feet. Now, feet for beginners is really difficult. It's not natural to like move your toes like this. But when you get strong feet and more articulation in your feet, you feel so much more aware of your whole leg. You can feel the muscles in your leg. You feel more grounded in the legs. Because in ballet, we want a sense of feeling grounded in the legs whilst lifting up out of the core. And often as beginners, we do the opposite. We squash down and we're very light in the legs. So we feel unstable. So feet exercises help you be able to be able to actually spread the toes on the floor, which again wakes up the whole leg and helps you engage your turnout. It helps your balance, it helps a host of things, as well as the articulation as you do your tendus and the line of your foot. So we need to be doing stretching exercises for the feet, strength exercises for the feet, and that needs to be as often as you can, because that is very, very difficult to do. And we have so many feet exercises to do with this, and we can start simply and we can build up as we get stronger. I'm so excited you're starting ballet, be it as a beginner adult or more of a beginner student. It's such a wonderful art form and it's very meditative and enjoyable. And the more you put effort in, the more you're going to get out of it, which is why I'm so passionate about helping you all. So thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe, like, comment down below, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.